Hey there, this is Sub. I've been getting a lot of requests for the Burning Abyss deck profile, so here I am to give it to you. If you haven't subbed, please sub. If you like this, drop a like. It all helps, especially for a new, growing channel. I actually recorded half this deck profile, and my microphone was muted. Wonderful. Alright, so quickly, Backjack is a wonderful card. We played it 1. Like my Paleo Frog list, I played it 2. And some iterations I played it at 3. Just a phenomenal card, but it really doesn't serve a purpose other than milling and stacking. In this deck in particular. You need the rank 3 engine. This guy just doesn't do anything. We don't dedicate a spot for Link Karibo. There's some really niche things you can do. You can stack your deck under max C and literally determine what you draw for the next 3 cards. You can use it to stack your deck instead of Farfa. That way your Beatrice doesn't have to dump Farfa. In some scenarios, you don't want to dump the Farfa because you need to survive, and Farfa's not going to help you survive that turn. Those scenarios are few and far between, but ultimately this guy's really good. He can dump a Dynamiscus and set it, and it can be used that turn. A Torrential, Needle Stealing, evenly matched too as well. Just a phenomenal card. Been in plenty of scenarios where I stack a Farfa, I mill the Farfa, hit a card, they pass. It's really good. Maxi at 3, the best card in the format. It definitely is gonna get hit. This card's wonderful though. Definitely lets you see a lot more of the engine, lets you see those going second cards. Which we only really play 6, and even at least 3 of them. I guess Call By could also be considered, going second, depending on what they're actually playing. We played 2 Tour Guides. Tour Guides really... You can play it at 3, but I find most consistent at 2. There's really not much else to say. It baits Ash. Typically, I hold the Tour Guide if I open it, and I open BA combo, just because typically they're gonna dump their Ash on Skarm at end phase if you can get Skarm in the grave. Speaking of Skarm, played it 2, don't play it at 3. Its effect is good, but I don't feel like it's that good to warrant playing at 3. Sometimes you end up with that odd hand where you need to make Beatrice, and you open a Skarm or 2, and you can't really get the optimal board because ideally you want to end on IP Beatrice. Sometimes you just don't get there. But in the scenarios where you do, you open an uninterrupted Tour Guide, or you open Graph Seer. Scenarios like that, or you open Graph plus another BA, which is really the best, because you normal the Graph, you special the other. Anything other than Seer in that scenario is Beatrice plus Masquerena if you have another BA in hand. So basically you open 3 BAs or Tour Guide plus a BA. It is full combo turn 1 for this deck anyway. Skarm's just really good at getting your plays rolling for the next following turn, or searching maybe a Farfa for an interruption or something along those lines, because you can add in the end phase and also pitch in the end phase with like a Dynamiscus and trigger an effect that way. It's just a really good card, but you don't want it at 3. Graph, probably the second best card in this deck besides, Maxi. Ideally, it's your normal summon, other than the Tour Guide in the scenarios where you need to normal Tour Guide, or in the scenarios where you need to normal the Rhino Warrior. Generally, you want to dump the Seer off of him, then Seer bring back another card, and you start doing BA things. Some scenarios where I come up and my hand's just not optimal, but I got a bunch of traps, I'll just normal this guy, summon him with BA, put Dante on board, and call it a day. And then there's some scenarios where I open 3 BAs, and I just go in, and you end on that nasty end board. But yeah, Graph is the best BA besides Seer. Seer is good at 2. You can play it at 3, but I feel like it's fine at 2. I get the most consistency out of it because you really don't want to open Seer. You want to open Graph plus anything else. Mainly because you need the effect to resolve. So if you're specialing Seer to make Dante, you're not getting the most out of it. But in some scenarios where you absolutely need it, the probability of seeing it is still there. Play 1 Alec. Alec's pretty good. It's basically an effect veiler when you mill it. Really helps with breaking boards. Definitely would keep it at 1 though. You can mill it off a backjack after stacking your deck. Like you can set up a negate that way with it. But ideally Farfa is going to be better for that. Same scenario, you can stack Farfa on top, you can mill it with backjack. So ideally if you went through combo, you got a backjack engrave somehow, maybe off a Dante mill, you stack the deck, you've got Beatrice, you've got IP, you'll backjack, dump the monster, negate the effect of a card with either Alec, or you'll banish it with Farfa, and then your Beatrice can do the other. Just really good utility cards. Not stellar, but not bad. Especially in this format where 1 banish can really just turn off an engine for a turn. And really that's all this deck needs to get going is 1 turn. Libic, once again a 1 of, can really facilitate OTKs. There's some scenarios where you search it off Scarm, you make a Beatrice or something like that, you dump the Libic, summon out a BA from hand, and that BA's effects are negated, so now you've got +1 on board, because it's not going to blow itself up. Just really, it's a good niche card. Has its uses, most of the time it's just fodder. Phoenix Rhino Warrior is... It's a moderately good card. You run into scenarios where you open up a BA that's not Graph, that's not Seer, and you need to make Dante, and this guy does it. This guy actually facilitates some combo. You open this plus another BA, that's Dante. Dante detaches the Rhino, mills whatever. As long as you hit a BA, you're in good shape. Rhino would dump the Graph, Graph will summon the Seer, then Seer and Dante make your IP. Seer's gonna trigger, Dante's gonna trigger. Seer's gonna special Dante, Dante's gonna add Seer, do the Dante Seer loop. And then you're sitting on IP Dante, and then you could also just ditch that Seer and make your Beatrice that way. Or if you have another BA like a Scarm, you're gonna dump that, get your Beatrice, and then in phase you're gonna add. So it's not awful, but it definitely takes the place of Graph when you do not have Graph. 1 Barbar. I've had a situation come up where I milled a... no, it wasn't a mill. I ended up making the Dante with a Barbar and having to pass, and I had enough traps to keep me alive. I detached the Barbar, banished for 900, and Dante hits grave. I add back the Barbar, and I summon the Barbar into a Nightmare Unicorn, and it blows itself up, and I banish for another 900, and I win the game because I just burned for 1800. It's a niche use. 1700 body, it can beat over barrier statues. Definitely not MVP, but in the games that it wins, it's definitely the MVP. Called by, it's it helps you to protect your tour guide, helps you to protect your graph. It's just a genuinely good, versatile card. And on top of that, it can be an interruption if you go first as well. If you go full combo, you have this in hand, you've got one more graveyard effect negate. Destroys Nervall. People usually just scoop if you hit their Nervall with Call By. Triple Torrential. Destroy all monsters on field. That's all you need to hear. In conjunction with Rhino Warrior, it can actually it can blow the warrior up, or the Rhino Warrior up, while keeping your other BAs alive. Then you get a plus off Rhino. Rhino can dump a graph. Rhino can dump a Seer or a Farfa, banish a card that couldn't be destroyed, like Eldritch Golden Lord. Needle Sealing's spicy tech, just for those scenarios where you can't trigger a summon, or when your opponent's smart enough to know they have game on board and they don't commit the summon. Overall, it's a pretty decent card at 2. Helps you to break the bird up boards that don't end with an avian, and they go into the barrier statue and they think they're okay, and you pass and blow everything up as soon as they enter battle, or at least until they try to pop this card. Dynamiscus at 3. Wonderful card. Discard a BA, banish a card. It's wonderful. It outs, Monarchs, Erupt for Dracos. It outs pretty much any Floodgate. And most importantly, it outs Golden Lord. Golden Lord generally, most of the time, will not be destroyable by card effects. Also floats into Link Fodder. Plenty of games come up where I make Moral Sword because I have this engraved. We main 3 evenly matched. You don't always go first. Most decks are susceptible to this, especially Bird Up, because they're not playing the Spell Trap Negate. There are decks playing Judgment. And situations came up where Judgment's been set, and I had 2 of these. They lost half, and then they lost their whole board. It's not always good to see it going first, but with Dynamiscus, you can pitch it. And in some scenarios, they break your board, and in battle phase, you just hit them with this. And honestly, if they break your optimal board, and you're having this in hand, they're probably going to lose the game if they get hit by it evenly also. Trap Chick, we played it 2. Searches this, searches this, searches this, searches this. It is basically an instantaneous copy of any normal trap you want. I've had it set. They go to battle phase with a big board. They don't kill me. In phase, I activate this. It's set evenly in end phase. And same as just activating evenly anyway. It's hard to recover from. I typically go into the Dynamiscus most. It's one of the best cards, I think, in the current Master Duel format. Just because Eldritch is best deck, by far. And Striker's right there with it. If you can Dynamiscus and engage, they're going to lose. They can't grind once engage is gone, with Kagari at 1. Triple Strike, because when you do go first, Strike is wonderful. Prank Kid's going to a Link 1, just strike it, it's gone. They pass. It's so hard for some decks to just play through a single strike. Imperial Order, because it's not banned. Striker's tier 1. Prank Kids are very close to tier 1. Draco and Eldritch are in tier 1. Both of those play deep draw spells. It's just good. Extra deck, play 1 Pilgrim. Plenty of scenarios come up where we crash Beatrice into a Golden Lord after we banished it with the Farfa. And then we float into this guy. and then it's just a free for all because they can't out Pilgrim unless they Golden Lord from hand. Also, lets you draw a card for discarding a B and triggering an effect during either player's turn. And then if they do get rid of it by card effect, you rip a card. Fortune Tune, just because it can't be targeted. And if it would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach one material from it instead. It'll let you wall if you need to wall. I don't make it often, but when I do, it definitely saves games. Double Dante. It's Dante. Doesn't really need an explanation. One downer. Zeus is at 1. You don't really care to play more than this. Piercing does come up, especially in bird matchups. Generally, you only make the downer if you summon a Dante off of a Seer. Or if you just hard make Dante with 2 and want a double board wipe out of Zeus. Beatrice, just a wonderful card. Dumps Dante, dumps Seer, dumps a Rhino Warrior. It's just wonderful. In scenarios where you need to OTK next turn, you can dump a Dynamiscus, trigger a trap, summon a Dynamiscus. That has came up, but generally you would just dump a Seer, summon a BA. Zeus, board wipe, just really good. And they destroy a card, you can equip it to the Zeus. It's just a good card. Any Xyz based strategy, it's wonderful. Gravity Controller doesn't come up a lot, but when it does, it's good. It's very niche. Obviously, it's Gravity Controller, but it doesn't come up a lot. I rarely ever make it. Cherubini will play 1. If you open the Rhino Warrior and don't have the graph, you can make this guy Rhino dump graph summon Seer. This guy dump, Skarm or something. You can at least make an IP. Or in the scenario you're going second, you can make your unicorn and start facilitating plays that way. Seer can bring this back and make you an access code. Good card. Definitely enjoy it for the destruction effect or destruction prevention effect. Nightmare Phoenix. All the cards in the deck are fiends, but Dante isn't. So if your opponent flips up Rivalry before you can make Dante, you just make this guy, and you blow it up. I had a scenario where I had a Dante on board, I triggered a Seer, they chained Rivalry, and I just summoned another Dante back, activated Torrential, triggered both Dantes to add back. Next turn I made Nightmare Phoenix, blew up the Rivalry, made Boral Sword, swung for game. Phoenix is just good, especially with all the floodgates in the game. Masquerena, your turn 1 play revolves around this card going into Unicorn. Unicorn it is interruption. And under Masquerena, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Similarly, Boral Sword is just good for ending the game, as is access code. But if you make the Boral Sword with IP, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's wonderful. Just really good. You have so many non-link monsters that you play that can easily be changed in their battle positions. And the last card's access code. It's access code. You just climb right into it, blow up cards for free. The only downside about access code in this build is you only have one non-dark link monster. But that pretty much wraps it up. I don't really think there's anything I would change. Gems aren't like a limiting factor for this deck. You could consider playing the Lightning Storm if they ban, IO, or they hit Dynamiscus, which is a possibility. The card's really good. And same with Called By. If they put Called By to 1 or ban it, you know, then we might be looking at playing this. But I think Evenly is just a better card than Lightning Storm right now, because IO does exist. IO does out Lightning Storm, but there's not many answers for Evenly. But yeah, if you like the deck profile, please drop a like, please sub, please support the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thanks again for watching.